Because I don't fit Harry's code.
Because I don't fit Harry's code.
You do not.
I do not. That's true. And neither does apparently Dr. Vogel.
No, she does not.
Yeah, we're sitting here with Scott Buck.
Hello.
The showrunner, the man behind Dexter Morgan, guiding us, leading us all towards the inevitable
Oblivion.
end. Yeah. And the writer of A Beautiful Day. Thanks for coming in, man.
Sure. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so let's talk about, that ending of last season where we left Deborah and Dexter off after she shot LaGuardia. Yeah, right.
I'm trying to think. That was
feel like,
so long ago.
I know, but I feel like a lot of people felt that way when it happened. It was sort of a stunned
I think there
moment.
was a certain expectation of coming back immediately afterwards.
Yes.
But we didn't want to do that, and the reason why is because it felt like you would have to cover so much procedural stuff. You would want to know how he cleaned this up and what they did.
Stuff we've seen Dexter do 100 million times.
Yeah, it seemed much more interesting to hit them and come at them in a more psychological way, to see what the long-term effect of this was, to pick them up 6 months later and to see the toll that it had taken, particularly on Deborah. And then, of course, the reveal is that it probably had a far bigger toll on Dexter even.
That was the sort of beautiful part about that opening montage, that Dexter Morgan... I felt a little bit like the Dexter Morgan of old. That
in some ways, my life is even better.
Yeah, it was that very distinct viewpoint of Dexter, as he tries to control his feelings about his sister.
And in an earlier time, it would have been all true, but because Dexter had evolved to a certain degree, now it was him leading a complete false existence, I think, and just subverting all those feelings that he actually did have.
Yeah. Yeah. So meanwhile, he's trying to cover for Deborah, trying to figure out, make it seem like to all the other cops that are friends with Deborah also that everything's fine, no, everything's good. But meanwhile, he's got this thing eating away at him.
Right. And I think everyone knows things aren't quite right. Deb walked out at lunch, we sort of learned, and just simply never came back. They know she had some sort of a small breakdown, but I think that's not such an unusual thing for a cop.
Yes.
So especially after
and we said that with Batista, that Batista was ready to leave after all the things that happened.
So they understand. They're all concerned about her, but it's Dexter is the only one who knows the truth of the situation.
Yeah, and then even then he doesn't know where Deborah is, which is
right.
Give it up to Jennifer Carpenter for her
fantastic.
complete. She looks completely different. She acts completely different. Snorting coke.
She is tremendous. Yes.
Yeah. Sort of a shocking introduction to Deb.
It was a big fun intro.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
What was the and then Briggs, she's hanging out with Briggs and working undercover, but it's the kind of undercover that cops should never do.
Right. Well, especially her in that situation, those circumstances.
Yeah. Coke's fun. I don't know, is it?
Rob?
I wouldn't know. Come on.
It sort of reminded me a little of like Scarface, Goodfellas a little bit, even the way she was just hoovering that stuff up.
The real Miami.
Yeah, we don't get to see that often on the show.
No, we don't.
Yeah. So it's sort of a fun journey to watch Dexter, who thinks everything's fine with me. Deborah is the problem.
Only to realize that's not quite true.
Yeah.
That he's lost.
Yeah.
He needs her more than she's ever needed him.
Yeah, that was a. When we read the script, it felt very emotional. Even at the read through, it did. But that final scene when she says, I'm exactly where I belong.
In this shitty hellhole.
Yeah, it was powerful and moving, and it was a good journey to watch that and to know that she's completely self-aware, as opposed to Dexter Morgan, who it's fun because Dexter Morgan normally feels like he's completely self-aware of everything around him because we get to hear his voice, we get to understand his thoughts, and yet Dexter has this strange thing that he's lost, leading us to Harrison lost out in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's As a father and anyone who's a
Yeah.
parent, I think that moment can be such a nightmare to walk. You never leave your car. You never leave your kid alone for a second.
Yeah,
And to
yeah.
come out and to think the one time that you did it, the kid has suddenly disappeared, and that would be horribly frightening.
It is a horrible thing. As you know, my kid's a little older than yours. I lost Audrey at like Wizard World once. I held her all day long, and the 1 minute I went off to buy some stupid T-shirt, I turned around and she's gone.
Eventually, she came back.
She did. The police found her.
Good.
Which then makes you feel like a wonderful dad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She still loves me, so don't worry. If you lose your children, it's okay.
She says.
So she says. Blood. Dexter. That was another pretty amazing moment when he scoops up Harrison in his arms.
His hand's still drenched in blood.
Yeah. Which then transfers to the blood spatter analyst who always cleans up everything. Never a spot. Never can identify
A
what things
little
are.
out of control.
Yeah, it was thematically it was beautiful. You know, down to the dog washing. It's a
The
little-
dog washing.
Yeah.
The
bloody dog.
unwashable dog.
Yeah. So let's talk about Deborah's journey on this episode, because Dexter.
I mean, Deb has less of a journey in this episode because it's more of our journey to discover where Deb is at. So she doesn't move a whole lot in this
Right.
episode. It's just us sort of uncovering where she has traveled in the last 6 months.
It's like a
which has
mystery,
been
sort of,
yeah,
like a reverse mystery.
yeah.
Which, you know, with Briggs, I forget that actor's name. He was like a director on Entourage, I think, and stuff. He was really great.
Right.
You sort of understood why they got along.
Yeah,
I feel like.
yeah, absolutely. He was good.
Though my favorite ass grab in the history of TV. that guy goes for
He
it.
commits.
He fully commits the whole cheek and everything. So why did you name it A Beautiful Day?
I just think it was meant to be ironic because it's
Yeah.
one of the worst days in Dexter's life, and actually there was Dr. Vogel at that moment in that final scene when she comes up to Dexter on the bench. There was a line of dialogue in which she looks around and says, "It's a beautiful day."
Oh.
But since it happened to be a very rainy, gray day, we sort of cut that line at the moment.
Yeah, but it totally fits it because that beginning is very beautiful. It's the Dexter's new life.
Yeah.
You know, hanging out with soccer moms.
He
coaching
thinks it's
a
his new
team.
life and
Yeah.
quickly realizes it's not. And even then, there's a little clue right at the beginning when he is with soccer mom and he sees that orchid petal fall down, that everything just rings a bit false about this new life he's created.
And that's Hannah. It's
Yeah,
reminding
of
him of
course.
Hannah, what he
Yeah.
doesn't have. Dr. Vogel, Charlotte Rampling. First of all, let's talk about the excitement that we felt when we found out that Charlotte Rampling was available for this role of Dr. Vogel.
Yeah, obviously we're very excited about this because she doesn't typically do TV, least of all, American television.
Yeah.
She's largely been, a European actress, so it just felt like quite a coup for us to get an actress of that caliber.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw her was on Melancholia, and that she was
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
in that thing. Super fun. Night Porter, all these things. Why Dr. Vogel?
Why
we
not?
were coming up
Dr.
with that. I mean, she's a season long. It's going to be
The
something that
idea
goes
with
through the whole season.
this being our last season, I think in some ways we wanted to return to Dexter's origins in a way and
Yeah.
reveal something very vital to him that we had not told yet. A little bit more about where he came from and why he is the way he is. It just felt like an interesting place to land in our final season of Dexter.
As we're thinking about Dexter's legacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What he's going to be, what he's leaving behind. And super fun looking at seeing that little peek into Dexter's childhood.
Those drawings. And
yeah.
who did those drawings?
Oh, my son. Yeah. How about that? That was fun. I didn't bring it up for that reason, but yeah.
No,
that
they were
was-
fantastic.
Yeah. My wife wasn't happy at all.
Really?
She's like, "What are you drawing? What is this? I'm doing this for Dad. What are you?"
Zane Reynolds, thank you.
Yeah, he did well. But fun look into Dexter's childhood. The
It
fact that-
was. I really loved that one moment of just seeing those drawings, of seeing what he must have been like as a little kid.
Yeah.
Just to get a peek inside his head like that.
things he fixated on. I remember reading, like, when we were sort of researching that, what child psychologists deal with
Right.
psychopath children. or children that I guess you don't really call a child a psychopath at that age.
Probably
Bad
not.
idea.
I mean,
to define
I do.
them. Which one? No, it's okay.
All of them.
But they say like a sign is for happy children. They'll draw like the sunshine up
Sure.
above, and a lot of times the sunshine is smiling.
Yep.
And you'll see people standing together, and yet with people like Dexter or whatever, there's never really a smiling sunshine.
No.
They always feel separated, you know. And I guess that's sort of the fun secret behind Dexter, to me, that he's this hurt soul. I guess that's why we love him.
Yeah, I think so, that we know that a lot of what he's doing comes from a place of pain.
Yeah. Makes him more than just a superhero who takes out bad guys or
Sure.
a serial killer, like, you know,
Yeah.
the typical sort of serial killer. Are there things you love about this your episode? Is there anything that you remember while it was filming or that stuck out to you on set or the making of the episode? Or I know it's a lot to ask.
I'm struggling because we've done 11 other episodes since then. They're all a bit of a blur right now.
Yeah.
But
Because it's a wild process. I mean, even just making an episode is a big, wild process.
I mean, I think I really love the scene in the grocery store where Dexter first sees Deb, and it's just a picture of the relationship that we have never seen before between these two. That kind of hostility, that kind of hatred.
Because she says, what does she say? She says, that's where she says, I should have shot you.
I shot the wrong person in that trailer.
I even love, was that in the script or not? That moment when she goes walking in and she's sort of shopping and she passes the beer.
No, I think,
Twist the top
that
and-
was either the director or Jennifer.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was not scripted.
Yeah. Drinking.
Yeah.
That is her life in a nutshell. She's walking through a grocery store drinking warm beer.
You should never do that.
No, warm beer's no good. Those
Pay
Europeans
for
are
your
wrong.
purchases first.
Oh, you think she was shoplifting?
I don't know. She's done worse.
She has done worse. She had the unfortunate incident in the trailer. Well, there you go. Episode 1. It's a beautiful day.
It is indeed.
Yeah, you excited?
I'm very excited.
Yeah. Us Weekly gave you like 4 stars.
We
4
did
out of
get
4.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah. Quick note on processing in the room. Mm-hmm. You have 9 of us swirling around you, all pitching different story. How do you know when something's right?
I
to you?
ignore 6 of you.
Names. No, it's okay.
I don't always know when things are right. When
Yeah.
it's right when it feels right. And obviously, you've seen there have been plenty of times where I'm adamantly opposed to an idea one day, and then it sort of sinks in for 24
Yeah.
hours, and suddenly it makes sense to me. Sometimes it's a process. When you have one idea very firmly in your head, you don't. Sometimes it's hard to dislodge it.
Yeah.
And then there are other times someone can pitch something in the room, and I just immediately love it, and it feels right. And this is a very large room. There's a lot of voices in there, so that is.
Yeah.
I feel a large part of my job as a showrunner is just to sort of figure out what is best and what works best, listen to everybody, but ultimately have to make my decision on where things are going to go.
Yeah. Did you feel the pressure of that every day, or is it sort of you believe enough in yourself?
I believe in the show and our vision
Yeah.
of the show. Yeah, I don't feel pressured about am I doing the wrong thing? Not
Yeah.
that kind. It's the pressure I feel is about getting things done on time and
Because it is a
keeping the schedule,
train
yeah.
that does not
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Especially this season. Unlike
Yeah.
any other one, we had a week off in between.
Yeah.
You had nothing off.
We basically did 2 seasons in a row just
Yeah.
so that we could premiere a little bit earlier. And yeah, there was a bit of a stress there.
Yeah. But I think it's so far so good.
Yeah,
It's been a beautiful day.
We're very thrilled with what we have this season.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you very much, Scott Buck, for coming in. It's a beautiful
Thank you,
day.
Scott Reynolds.
Episode
Happy to be
801. And up next, we have a very exciting interview we have with Jennifer Carpenter to sort of talk us through the whole journey of Deborah Morgan from season 1 all the way up to episode 801. So sit back, buckle up, enjoy. Hey, we're sitting here with, hey, I just shocked her. It's very loud. I'm sorry, podcast listeners, if that was too loud. We're sitting here with Jennifer Carpenter, Deborah Morgan. What's the middle? I don't even know Deborah's
That's
middle
my
name.
secret.
Is it your secret? I thought it was Billy. I don't know why. Lynn? Deborah Lynn, that sounds right. It sounds very Florida.
Yeah. Oh, there you
Florida.
go. Yeah.
Deborah Lynn
Floridian.
So we're sitting here. Everyone's just seen episode 801, which a beautiful day, powerhouse performance. I got to say, I was watching it with Rob G over here and my wife, Amy, and everybody was almost in tears. If we weren't such men, Amy was in tears.
I didn't mean to laugh.
Thanks. That moment in the hotel room where you make that when you make that sort of confession about I'm not lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're lost.
Yeah.
I'm at a disadvantage because I haven't seen it in quite some time. We're shooting episode 9, so it's not quite as fresh. But maybe that's a good thing for me.
It'll come back. I think it'll all come back. I can't imagine that. It seemed like such an emotional experience for you because it was an entirely different Deb than we've ever seen in the history of the show. You know, from the very beginning. If you remember, your introduction was snorting coke. It was like something straight out of Scarface or something.
Yeah, there were no lines drawn for how this looked. I mean, you know,
except for the lines on the
except for the lines on the page. But you know what I mean. If you picture a coloring
I meant the
book,
cocaine lines.
I didn't quite know how to color this in because there had been a 6-month gap between where we left audiences last time and where we're picking them up. So I felt like I needed to do a lot of backstory for myself to get her to that place in an authentic way.
Yeah, we sort of threw you in there, didn't we? Yeah.
Yes, I'm so glad you noticed.
But by the way, like we should maybe backtrack a little bit more because no one really got to process 7/12.
Right.
No one got to process this choice that you made or that Deborah Morgan made to shoot LaGuardia.
Right.
Spoiler alert. Sorry. It's too late now. You're at 801. Do you want to talk about that? This journey that we had from episode 1 of the series when you were this sort of shaky voiced cop in a sex suit. You know, going to her brother like, oh my gosh, you won't believe what I found. I think I got always bouncing things off of Dexter, to someone 8 years later who could shoot a police captain.
Right. I think there are a lot of parallels between me as an actress and Deborah as a rookie cop. And we were both, you know, really green is the only way I know to put it on day one of this show. And I think because of the caliber of actors that we have and because of the writing that we've been able to luxuriate in, I needed only to like show up and listen and find a way. And Deb was doing the same thing. Right. You know, she was in a man's world and I think at a young age maybe felt a calling to this. And
young for a homicide detective too, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's been way ahead of the game as far as promotions have gone. But it was a slow evolution, and I think that's the only thing that made it look so credible that we were able to get away with promoting her to a lieutenant at such a young age, at a tender time in her career.
That and that tackle.
Yeah. Which awesome. One? I've actually done more than one tackle on this show. If you'll remember the chase scene.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Where you tackled
where
the
I
kid.
almost shoot a child.
That's right. You made him pee his pants.
Yeah. So if you think about that scene, it makes a lot of sense that I shot my boss.
It was all there. It's all
just recycling,
bubbling.
Really.
It's all bubbling beneath the surface.
Yeah. But seriously, that was 7/12 was incredibly hard. And we never have had that luxury of a director coming over and saying we're just going to leave it open and see what happens. And I think if I did, I think if I didn't have the opportunity to figure out what happened the moment after that gun went off, then I don't know where I would have put all those feelings with me. I feel like that would have been a really different hiatus for me, because there is it's such an easy thing 8 years in to dip in and out of your character. Right. And that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Like, because it does, you are, like, a lot of it does feel real. You know, I have a real relationship with Lauren. I have real feelings for Lauren. I've done a lot of my own work to make it feel real. So I think if I didn't have that moment to expense everything that was building up to it, then I might have, who knows what I've done.
During the when we were figuring out last season, there was at the very beginning we were thinking that it was Dexter that was going to be the one who, you know, took a knife and took it away from you, basically. Never allowed you that choice.
Yeah.
But it seemed as it went along and we watched what you were doing and watched how Dexter was reacting to you, it just felt more and more right.
And cinematic for sure.
Yeah.
I was trying to play it when I say his name. He says, "Do what you have to do,"
Right.
which is what saved his life, I
Right.
think. But in the scene, I was trying to not look at Lauren, and later have the excuse to say I meant to shoot Dexter, you know, or to in some weird way find a way to leave it open ended for Deb.
Right.
You know,
But
that if she needed to lie to
Yeah.
herself later, that she would be able to
that's
find
interesting.
an end to it or something.
On screen, though, it looks like, I mean, you made a choice.
Yeah, I had to do that once.
Deborah
for
made a
Steve.
choice.
And I think Wendy was there too, and she was insisting that I do that too. So if you give them one, they're
She
going
can
to
be
use the
very
one
insistent.
they want. Yes. But it's okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing moment. I think people were almost as gut punched, maybe even more in that moment as they were when people told me when Rita
Ooh,
was
I don't
found
know.
dead.
My God, that was awful. I was there that day too. I went down especially to like watch her die because I love her so much. That sounds so messed up. Anyway,
And then what was it? Was it you that said it, or was it? No, it was.
if it was great, I said it.
That's right, exactly right. I forgot about that. No, it was. I think it was Lauren who said LaGuardia, not Lauren Gus's, who said that there was that you threw yourself on her body after you made that shot. Like that was. Did you? It felt very spontaneous and
Yeah, it was.
unexpected and.
It was, and another thing that I didn't even remember saying until someone quoted me on Twitter.
What?
I was hugging Lauren, wailing.
Yeah.
Dexter crouches down in front of me, and I am wailing, "I hate you."
Right.
And it's in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that wasn't on page. Yeah,
That
not
was
at all.
not on page, but and I don't remember saying it on the day. It makes sense, I guess, that it's there.
Yeah.
But I didn't even remember it until someone mentioned it. Someone asked on Twitter if I'd said it.
It was a strange, sort of almost psychopathic thing to say, to blame somebody else for.
Well,
the
let me
choice.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would I have been there in that container if Dexter had
That's right,
been
right.
born?
Yeah, you would not.
So
Yeah,
he
she would
is
not be.
kind of to blame.
Yeah.
I'm really good at the blame game.
So you were taught. You said. So it was a powerful moment. I mean, just unbelievable. Even when the two of you were walking through that fair, through those fairgrounds,
Yeah.
in the party dress, and Dexter's voiceover sort of carrying us through. Which brings us to 801. If we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
You said you did a lot of work to figure out how you got to a point where you're now in a hotel room doing coke with Briggs.
Right.
You want to talk about that at all, or is it
Maybe a little. I guess
Okay.
it started with that walk that you were just talking about. There's a
Yeah.
great reading on YouTube that Tilda Swinton does about someone's brain being a lake and your brain being a lake. And when you have thoughts and experiences, like someone else's brain contaminates your lake. And so I was walking through that party scene thinking that Dexter had, like, I was just imagining like a river of blood flowing from him to me.
Right.
So it started there. And the work was basically about deciding how she slid down this slope. And it was coming up with like embarrassing moments, shutting the curtains at home and the things that she would do alone. It was
Right.
just writing real moments of privacy for myself. And even if nothing, like before I would go to sleep, just trying to think about a few.
Right.
So, and I don't even.
Did you
I
feel-
think. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, did you feel good being just sort of jumped in like that?
No.
Because he had said season 8 started in an entirely different place than he ever expected. Because last season we picked up like 1 second afterwards.
Right. The one regret I have is I wish that she had still been lieutenant. That is something that I wish I could have, as the actress, experienced. The leaving, the
okay.
trying to tread the line to make sure that, trying to hold on for as long as she could until it all fell apart.
Right.
But I understand why it happened the way that it did. Because it's another very interesting choice too. I think that Dexter, an insight into Dexter that he carries on
Right.
And she carries the load and suffers the
yeah.
load. So and yeah, it makes sense. I think there were small allowances, and she was trying to exercise all these demons, or just trying to go crazy within the lines, like making up ridiculous rules for herself. Like, if I'm doing it with this job and I only do it with this job, I can do anything I want. I can be anybody I want here. So I'm not sure, like, while she was off the rails, I'm not sure that was all the way like miles from the station.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely hadn't hit bottom yet.
Yeah, but was desperately looking for it, not afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know, like didn't care if it left a scar on her face when she fell on it.
And did you feel almost like that was almost suicidal to a certain? I mean, there's that one spot outside the room where he's like, "You're gonna," when El Sapo, when he says El Sapo's coming here, El Sapo's a hitman, you're gonna die.
Yeah, it's a weird thing when a person like Dexter, who cares if he says "I love you"?
Right.
Because he still continues all the behavior that hurts you so badly.
Yeah,
so
he's got this certain blindness to all of that.
Yeah.
It's a terrible savior.
I think if it wasn't necessarily that she was going to die by her own hand, but she knew that if she died in a way that he felt responsible, it might be the only sort of revenge she could ever put on him.
Oh, okay.
You know, and that's
and penance too, a little bit. Or?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a perfect word for it. And maybe it would be the thing that would penetrate his steel walls.
Another question I had about that episode was how did you when you read a script, right? So you get this whole script and you read this thing over, and then we do a read through together, and sometimes you have like thoughts about, hey, what if we do this way or that way or whatever. But in an episode like that where it is so fraught with emotion, anger, you know, especially at Dexter, how do you sort of differentiate for yourself when day 2 you're shooting the grocery store scene, if you remember that?
Yeah.
Where you're super pissed at this guy. You know,
Yeah. And
then you know, who knows? Day 1 you might be shooting that scene outside the motel, and then day 4 you're shooting the scene inside the motel.
Right.
And because it feels like your emotions would want to sort of control that and live into that, but you have to leave like room to tell that story.
Yeah.
And it feels like that of all the episodes you've ever done, I feel like this was probably one of the most challenging.
Yeah.
To I don't know, make the levels work for that.
Yeah, I think it was just because there was no territory felt familiar, and I think that's one of the greatest things about our read through is that you can sort of get some altitude on the map of how it's supposed to burn, so that you're not just burning hot the whole time, because people will stop caring or stop listening. So you get a sense of how you need to temper all of it. The weird thing too is that the wall that I kept running into was that I didn't have a marker for what it should look like. You know, I felt like there was all kinds of vague help around me with directors and writers. Everybody could say like to consider it a certain way, but at the end of the day, I had to latch onto the line and make a decision. And the funny thing is like I've never been happier in my life.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have, like, when I did get lost, like, I didn't have, like, I couldn't think of my dog that died. I've never had a dog, but you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't like some experience that I wanted to pull on. So it was just about, like, I was really just, like, in the grocery store scene, I was just really, like, taking in the temperature of the room and decided that I was cold, which started me shaking, which looked like I was fiending, and just trying to pay attention and let everything that was real and happening live, which also helped. I think temper one scene to the next. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense.
I always feel like a fool when I talk about it.
No, that makes complete sense. Yeah. I mean, because even your face in that episode, it's like there's some sort of live wires, something coming out, and you're just trying to scrunch it down.
And the thing about that scene which was so great, which is why you all should write, is because like it was so clear that there's all of this electricity in her,
right?
But even when I say to him that it's none of your business, you can see that she wants to punch him in the face, but she ends on a smile, like it's cool.
Yeah,
you know, like don't worry about it. I got it. You know, it's like that's the thing. Like, how much does she? I think there's a part of her that's trying to be like him, like show her cards a little less. I don't know.
And it's impossible for Deb.
Yeah.
You know?
Because she is not like him.
She's not like him. Yeah. And Dexter's the whole time is just thinking, she'll get over it. I mean, that is a very even if you're not a psychopath, that's a very sort of true thing when you look at somebody else's experience and you think, why can't you just be like me and just get over it?
Yeah.
You
There's a moment that I'm remembering now outside of the hotel.
Yeah.
You know, she's talking about, she's bringing up LaGuardia again, and he says, I'm sorry. And I added, don't make that face and say I'm sorry to me, because it is like, we say each other's names a million times in the show. Like, I wish someone would do a montage. Like, it was just like, Dex, Deb, you know?
Dex, yeah.
And like, I have seen that face, and I'm sorry so many times. I was really happy that stayed in somehow.
No, it was great. Yeah, yeah. And then Briggs.
Yeah.
That was a hard thing to portray too, because it didn't feel like just punishment. You know what I mean? Like at that end when Dex takes the knife out of Briggs' hand and sticks it right in his chest, and Briggs dies in front of him, in front of her. The response that you give, you know, this like tortured response, I was finally comfortable with someone.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Deb from day one, Michael and I were sort of looking around the set today, just firing off memories we have. You know, remember the nightmare when I drugged that guy? Remember when I was talking about Pinot Gris over there? Like, if you think about that date that she describes in the early of season 1, she has been looking to plug into a man since the very beginning. Yeah, you know, and this is a man who's not going to hurt her, going to protect her, make her feel better, even if it's not necessarily the most healthy way. But
just sitting around smoking dope and watching cartoons in a hotel room.
But they had an agreement. Yeah, you know, and he came in and he shredded that too. Not to say that it worked, but it was enough. It was a Band-Aid for the moment, and he just rips every comfort from her grasp.
And yet, like Dexter, there's like Deborah has that ulterior motive the whole time to sort of take this person down. It's so punishing. It's so punishing.
And there's no place for her to disappear to. There's no place for her to disappear in, you know?
It's going to be okay.
I would start rubbing my shoulders and my back.
We're bringing it all back. And then even your hair, your clothes, I mean, everything was so Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, that's the thing that's never been
like Spring Breakers.
Right. I mean, when we shot the pilot in Miami, we went through, I have to go through especially long hair and makeup, if you can imagine. But like, you do all this hair and makeup, you go outside and everything just goes, you know, your makeup's dripping off and your hair's like 6 miles wide. Like, it was all
crinkled or whatever. What do they call that?
Crimped.
But
all I did was braid it wet and then
let
it dry. It was just great. I was in there for like 30 minutes. It was awesome. Yeah. And then the short shorts, which I'm totally not comfortable in. But you know what sold it was the black Nikes with the shorts. That felt right.
Yeah. And then that moment when you're going into the El Mercado and then Dexter's watching from across the way, and then Briggs grabs your butt. And this look on Dexter like...
No, I don't know. I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember.
It's that weird love that the two have, you know? Like, he wants to be protective and he wants to watch out for her, but he doesn't know how to... When you know it's your own fault, it's weird.
Yeah, it makes me realize just how limited the word love is, you know? Like, it shouldn't encompass so many different kinds of love. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be a different word for what goes on between Deb and Dexter.
What would it be?
Lerv. I don't know. That's from Woody Allen or something. I don't know. Larv.
Because it's still there. I mean, even when she says, you know what? I don't know. When you looked at him and you said, Dexter, don't you know I hate you? That
thin line.
I don't think there was
thin line between
true.
love and hate. What else, Scott?
Yeah, love and hate. And so let's get to the end of that episode.
Okay.
Where I think one of the few times that usually on the show, Dexter discovers things through his victims. He discovers things about himself. You think back to like the coyotes, when he went and killed his coyotes and he learned something about love, or you know, in this episode, Dexter's just thinking, I can fix her, and Harry's saying,
You're the problem. You're the problem. You're the
stay
problem.
away, which is odd for Harry's voice to say because Harry, you know, had linked you two together so much. That by the end, you answer what's wrong with him. you know, with this hell. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, when I say that I'm not lost, you're lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's weird that I guess it's weird that Deb is the answer to his question in such a direct manner. I've never really seen that before.
Yeah, I think it's really important for audiences to see this show through Dexter's lens. However, I don't. So I don't know what that line did to him. I only really know my side of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I pay attention more to my parts than other people's parts. So I don't know what that did to him, but I know what it was for me in that moment. You know, and I feel like there's, you know, that was one of the first times that I really saw Dexter emote.
Right.
In a really long time.
You said before that you feel like Dexter Morgan, not Michael C. Hall, but Dexter Morgan has 5 faces.
Yeah.
You know, five different responses that he gives for the same. You know, you can sort of read it right away. And in that moment, it was like something broke inside of him.
It was a new one, but I think that was, even if that was him seeing himself, the resentment is so deep that it's like, what does it matter if you moved a millimeter? You know, when when I've dipped all the way to hell and you didn't put your hand up, you know, you didn't wake up.
Yeah. You
didn't wake up. That's what it feels like.
Because of that shot. Because that moment that
it's deeper than that. That's the thing. Like, now as the season moves on and he wants to move away from LaGuardia, like wants me to get over it.
Right. That's what he feels like. He honestly feels like look, it was a while ago.
The trade-off is I get over it and I go deeper.
Yeah.
Like I shoot further in her past and I see where there were smaller examples of LaGuardia, like places that I sacrificed myself or some freedom with my life because he tied to him. Yeah. He kept me tied to him.
So that's your promise for the next few episodes is it gets worse.
What? It gets worse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so after that moment, after this, when do you actually believe in that moment that that Deb knew she was in this hell, or do you think in that moment she realized this is what I'm doing to myself?
Oh God, no. I don't feel like this is that this is what I'm doing to myself feels right at all. I feel like this is what I allowed you to do to me, and I hate myself for that.
Right.
You know.
Oh, okay.
And it just gets to a point where it's like, if I could just push off from the bottom of the pool, I could get to the surface and take a breath, but I just am too tired or too confused, or I hate you too much, and I know you're up there. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like.
Yeah, because that other powerful moment is like, I shot the wrong person.
Yeah.
That day.
You realize.
Did you have to think through that at all? Like, did you think what would Deb's life have been like if I had shot LaGuardia? I mean, if I hadn't shot LaGuardia, if I'd shot.
Well, then
Dexter.
I'd be dealing with LaGuardia, wouldn't I?
Yeah, that's
you know?
right. Yeah.
And as
either way, you lose being a cop.
Yeah, and she was dangerous too, especially to Deb. You know, so. I don't know. I don't know if Deb gets a happy ending. I don't even know if she gets a happy weekend.
Happy weekend.
Yeah.
It's quite a journey with LaGuardia, because that's a weird relationship, right?
Yeah, it is. And you know, Lauren was I'm the only girl on the, you know,
right.
I mean, yeah, Amy's here and everything. There are certainly female presence. There's female presence here, but like from the beginning,
at the station,
like,
too,
I'm the last woman standing, you know.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Lauren and I shared a closeness, and there were complications in the characters we played and the dynamic that existed between us. But in the last scene that she and I had, where we were sitting across from her desk talking to one another, there was a big shift that had to happen in the scene where I'm on the verge of confessing, and then she says something, and it totally rips me back to defending Dexter. And I said on my coverage, will you just say something to me? Will you just speak to my character? It's not going to be on camera. I'll just hear it, and it'll give me another minute or a beat to make that switch. Yeah. And what she said to me was so, I don't even know the word to describe it. It just hit the exact right button that I didn't even know was there, about what our relationship as friends had been, and somehow it paralleled what was happening with the characters, and it was the most generous thing that Lauren could have done. And I have been feeding off of that moment
Oh my goodness.
all season.
Can you share it?
No.
Oh. Was it like, hey, your hair looks good? No.
No. Because it always does. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding. I had an unfortunate haircut years ago, so now I cannot seem to get a haircut. Just afraid to go through that mourning process again.
But the relationship with LaGuardia was also weird because it was it's like the master. It's sort of like a gunfighter thing in some ways, right? It's like, here's this person that's going to rise up and eventually take her job, you know. And so on the one hand, it felt like LaGuardia a lot of times was trying to mentor young Deb, and at other times just wanting to fight.
Like a politician, maybe she would.
Yeah. You're right.
She would have liked to have done the right thing, but you get so deep, you can't.
She couldn't stop.
Right.
But that had nothing. I guess that had nothing to do with the shooting.
What part?
The whole relationship that she had, the sort of, there was there's a large amount of animosity. Like, is there anybody else? Like, if that had been Batista, let's say, in that moment, could it have been? could it have been Batista? Do you feel like?
Could I have shot?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't even want to imagine myself shooting Batista. The thing about that, what makes it so hard with it being LaGuardia is that we were for once on the same page.
Right. Yeah.
If ever we were going to align our forces and do good and set things right, it would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been after that.
Because it felt like in that scene you were talking about, it felt like LaGuardia was going to give you a pass.
Yeah.
If you didn't know all about Dexter, whatever it is, all she wanted was to take down the guy that took down Oaks.
Right.
You know, it was all tied so personally with her.
I'm not sure people would have wanted to watch that show because everything would have worked out so nice at the end of the hour. Like, what are you going to talk about next week? You know what I mean? But that's interesting. I've never actually thought of it. Like, what if I'd substituted a different character in there?
Yeah, there was a while, you know, I mean,
Let's
when
see.
we're breaking
Let's
out,
finish. Let's do that this season. Let's just take one episode after the next. Put another.
who else can she
character.
shoot?
Harrison, give me a bullet.
Cute little Harrison. He's great.
He's
season,
smart.
Yeah.
He's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, because and then there's that final moment of the episode when you tell Dexter stabs Briggs.
Yeah.
You lay your soul out before him, you know.
Again.
And he just sort of, but for the first time in a long time, it really does shake him up a little bit. And he's like, he wants to take care of everything the same way he always says. I'll take care of the body. Let me take it out in the water. And Deb says,
no,
absolutely not. Right? Yeah. Why do you think she made that choice?
There's a part of like my first response is to scare the out of him. Can
Right.
you say those words on here?
Yeah. They're gonna
to scare,
they knock him out.
To scare him.
Yeah.
To
It did. It felt threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I read it.
Yeah. And to also to the subtext of it is like, how dare you assume to know my size? How dare you assume to know where or who I am?
Yeah.
Or what I'm capable of, or where you stand with me. You know, I mean, look, it's like yet another thing he took away from me. I don't know. God, I mean, why do we do this after our wrap? Like, let's go to work now.
There's always tomorrow.
That's true. Well,
Yeah.
not much longer.
Yeah. So you make this sort of like threatening moment that almost, when I watched it, you know, last night, it almost felt like you wanted to see what Dexter would do. Would he come after you if you were going to call the police on him? Because you didn't make it very. It was very unclear. It was very ambiguous. Let me call in on this murder. Or am I going to call in that you just stabbed someone in my hotel room?
In a weird way, I'm all powerful.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, which is exactly
he
what.
can't hurt you. He can't.
It's incredible the people that I would ask, like the random people that I was asking, like, about cocaine, like all the people who were happy to tell me these amazing versions of it. I know. It was incredible. But, like, apparently it makes you feel all powerful. So in a weird way, Deb was. Not because she was high, but because there was no consequence that would hurt her.
Right.
If I die, so be it.
Yeah.
You know?
It'd be a relief almost.
Yeah. If everything's exposed, so be it.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, also it's great because that moment she takes control away from Dexter.
Yeah.
Because he's like always so obsessed with being in control of everything. And by not letting him get rid of the body, it's kind of like, I'll handle this, and you're
Yeah.
taking away his control.
Be in the papers tomorrow.
But then there's this like it's not like a punishment, but it's this moment where Deborah is standing across from this young female detective, this like sort of doppelganger moment of where Deb should have been, and everything that was taken away from you.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you look at that woman who mirrors Deborah enough, and think like, shouldn't everything just be so safe? Like that's one of the things I always loved about wearing the uniform is you know who you are and how to stand and what you're there to do.
Right.
So how can your life be out
Even
of
just
control?
wearing a badge does that. Yeah.
So how did I get here? You know.
Yeah.
The thing that you just reminded me of though with that moment saying that I'll take care of it is it's what Dexter can always count on is he'll set out a call and Deborah will respond. You know, there's always a call and response, and she's never had that with him. There's a call, and then there's like some vague response that can be read two different ways. You know, or like it's just a mute button or mute emotion, but like she cut off his access to her with that.
Yeah.
You know, put a full stop to you can't get in.
It was even just from the very beginning. It was there when he kept calling on the phone, and it was like, "The Deborah Morgan, leave a message.
Yeah.
Message is full."
Yeah, right.
Which we've all felt.
Cute. Yeah, yeah.
This mailbox is full. It was an homage to my wife. This message box is full.
You don't
What do you
love
have a
me.
phone for? I want to leave a
Family
message.
plan, damn it.
Yeah. Who's leaving all these messages? Oh, it's me. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a powerhouse performance. It was
Thanks.
amazing. Like I
Thanks.
said, I almost cried.
Oh, thanks.
I did one of these like little scratchy moments on the side of my eye, and I hope that Rob or my wife wouldn't look at me at that moment.
It is a funny thing when you all, the writers especially, say something like that because you write it, you know.
But you make it real. You know, it's like we have like little ideas about how this might work out or whatever, but then I'm constantly amazed. I guess from the very beginning, I've been constantly amazed at how something may be, how we may imagine it, and then what you guys do, what you do, that makes it so much fuller and so much more magical than we ever could have imagined.
That's generous. For the record, I feel like I just thanked my abuser.
Yeah, you've been put through it, man.
Okay.
It does not end. I mean, it will, but yeah.
The nightmares won't. Have a good day, Jennifer.
You're gonna miss it.
Oh,
When it's
yeah.
all said and done.
Oh, yeah.
When we hit 8/12 and July 9th, we wrap.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it, no doubt.
Yeah, it's quite a thing. Quite a thing. Who'd have
It's like
thought?
it's like the factory's closing.
Yeah. We're living here in Allentown.
Oh, poor Allentown.
Well, listen. Hey, you've been running with parachutes.
Yeah.
You've been doing all this physical stuff in between. Now you're back to work again. Mm-hmm. It's been. Who knows what's going to happen next? It's going to be good.
Yeah, we'll see.
802, 803, 804.
In that order.
Yeah, all the way to the end.
That's right, Scott.
Well, hey, that's it, man.
Thanks.
For coming in, for talking about 801, for helping all the fans process this thing that you do.
Thanks for inviting me into your office after 8 years.
Sorry. She walked in and she was like, "It's filled with horror stuff. What's going on?" I want to thank you for making time to come by and talk all things Deborah. You can find you on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And you're at...
J to the Carpenter.
Is it at J to the... Yeah.
At J to the J number 2 the Carpenter, I think.
J2 Carpenter or J2 the...
the Carpenter, because
that's
my
right.
name was taken 80 different ways. So
Stinking
it's
people.
popular.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
popular name of the 80s.
Are you verified?
I am.
Look at you. Well
Yeah.
done.
I don't know how I figured that out.
Did they just contact you?
Julie Benz helped me a lot
No.
with that.
She's good
Help
for that.
me, curse me, however you want to put it with the Twitter thing.
But you're very active on Twitter, so people
Yeah,
should
I
follow
like
you.
it.
Yeah, you
It's
do
fun.
you throw out a lot of pictures, a lot of
Yeah.
little behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very fun. Sometimes we'll be like, "Hey, look what just happened on set."
Hey, look what she gave away.
Never yet, have you? I don't think so.
I don't
No,
think so.
No.
Maybe some stuff with the pond, but
Yeah, but we don't know what that is about at all.
No idea.
Let's give a big thanks to Rob Galuzzo, a.k.a. Rob G.
Thank you. And on behalf of all the fans, I just want to say to Jennifer, since I don't know if we're going to see you again, thank you for an amazing job on the show. Seriously, watching it. He's not kidding. I will admit, I kind of
He did. I
wanted
saw
to
it.
tear away.
wasn't
Yeah,
just-
it's been 8 years of your performance has been one of the best things to watch in the show. So
Thank you. And you
Awesome.
don't write it, so I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
I'm Scott Reynolds. I'm one of the writers here on the show. You can find me at jscottamy. You can hit me up. I've been doing little Dexter giveaway tchotchkes from the set throughout the time. Well, that's it. That's the end of podcast 801. But don't worry, it's going to happen again and again. It has to happen. Have a good week.
Later, taters. Great. That was fun.